Okay. All right, and here we
Okay.
go. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jamie. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you again. Y'all don't know, but me and Jack just met at the where did we meet? What was it? The LGBTQ
The
task force.
Creating Change Conference.
Yes, in San Francisco that we were both at, and we connected, and it was fun. And as always, I was like, "Come on, tell me a story on the show."
Yeah, we were in the Anti-Racism Day-Long Institute,
Yep,
right?
yep. Mm-hmm.
It's such a blur, but yes.
There was a lot. There was a lot. And I was only there for 2 days. You were there the whole time. So whew.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Queer Fam Pod, as I like to call it. You are now a member of the Queer Fam Squad. Trying to get used.
Woo!
I'm trying to get used to saying that, but I feel so cheesy when I say it. But I'm gonna make it a thing. I'm gonna make it a thing.
I love it.
But Jack, all right, so it's time. You need to give us your 30-second elevator pitch of who you are and why you're here talking to the Queer Fam Squad. And I'm going to put a timer up, but don't you worry, I will never cut you off. It's just a way to put a little pressure under your butt. That's all. So
Great.
I'm going to put 30 seconds up. You're going to tell us who you are. The listeners are dying to know. On your mark, get set, go.
Hi, I'm Jack McCarthy. That's MAC McCarthy. I am a writer living in Los Angeles. I am the communications manager for the Outwards Archive, which records, preserves, and shares the stories of LGBTQ plus elders. And I am a trans person and birth mother to a 10-year-old child who was adopted by a gay couple in 2012. And I am at 30 seconds.
Boom. That was good, Jack. That was good. I didn't think you were going to get it all in. I really didn't. That was a good one. Wow. Okay. Okay. So everybody, all y'all at home, I just want you to know, I don't really know all of Jack's story. I just heard basically the top line of what y'all just heard while we were drinking beers at a bar one night at the convention. And I was like, I need to hear more, but don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me anymore. You're coming on the show. You're going to tell the story. So we're all going to learn Jack's story as it unfolds. So let's get into your journey to being a birth mother, if we can.
Yeah, let's do it. Shall I just start at the beginning?
Start at the beginning, Jack. Start at the beginning.
So, 2012, I am living in New York City, in Astoria, Queens, with roommates. I'm working a underpaid job that is flexible enough to allow me to self-produce my own plays. I had a theater company, and I'm a I come from a theater background, and I was doing all this, and I had defaulted on every form of debt I had, every credit card, every student loan.
As you
Side
do.
note, if you default on your student loans, they will get that money out of you if they
Mm.
have to. There's simply no way to escape them getting that money from you. So my wages were being garnished by 25% for a job that already didn't pay great. And I get pregnant.
Oh, oh. How'd that happen, Jack? We went from debt to pregnancy. I'm pretty sure that doesn't get you pregnant. I don't know though. You never know in our community. You really never know.
Oh, wow. If that were like a possible, like if being in debt could get you pregnant, like
It would be a different world,
it would
that's
be a
for
different
sure.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So uh you see, Jamie, when two people get very, very drunk, uh,
Ah,
uh I tend not to talk about the person who got me pregnant that much, because his story isn't my story to tell. But
uh-huh.
he was a friend of mine, and um, it was not a situation where doing anything together seems to be on the table.
Hmm. And can I ask, did you identify as queer at that time?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I'm a slut by nature. But there was only one person I was being slutty with at the time who was able to get me pregnant,
Right.
even though I was
Gotcha.
also being slutty in other ways and with other
Right.
people.
But you didn't
Yeah.
discriminate against whoever, however they identified and whatever body parts they had. It was
Yeah.
just, it was,
I'm
gotcha.
attracted to human adults.
Gotcha. At
Yeah.
least it's a good thing they're adults.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels, in this political climate, it feels so stupidly like, I'm like, I feel like I have to clarify that they're adults.
Isn't that
Like,
sad though? Isn't that sad? Well,
yeah,
because by nature, there's a huge group of individuals who would like to call you a pervert, me a pervert. We're
yep,
all perverts. So then the next jump is obviously they're also doing it with kids, which is ridiculous, but
yeah, yeah,
groomers, all the things. So
exactly.
it's not surprising that you feel the need to clarify that, sadly.
Yeah, yeah. I did not identify as trans at the time.
Mhm.
That came later, but I pretty quickly, I mean, let me just throw all the caveats on top of this because sometimes uh, anti-abortion folks try to latch on to my story and use it as fodder for their agenda. Let me just come out and
Oh.
say how incredibly pro-choice I am and how this experience made me even more pro-choice. But I just didn't want an abortion for myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I
And
knew that
your
pretty
body, your
quickly.
choice. Exactly.
My
That's the
body, my
point.
choice. It's supposed
That's
to
the
be a
point.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, look at my shirt. I'm wearing a Roe v. Wade shirt.
Hell yeah.
How
Hell yeah.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So I I actually was referred to my adoption agency by Planned Parenthood.
oh, so did
Um,
you go to Planned Parenthood, like when you were trying to figure out what you were going to do?
yeah, I took a home pregnancy test like at my office on my lunch break and was like, "Oh shit, okay." Um
Just like that too. Just, oh
yeah,
shit. Okay.
I thought cuz I was just having a different my body was just doing something a little different and I
Hmm.
thought I'll just I feel like I'm being paranoid and imagining that it might be this. So I'll just take this pregnancy test so that I know and
Mm.
can like put that fear aside. And then it was positive.
Oh my God. It's like what we do with COVID tests now.
Right.
Feeling a little stuffy. So I just take it just to make sure I don't have it. Damn, I have it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So I was like, just in case it's a false positive
Mhm.
and to find out what resources or options there might be. I immediately started thinking adoption
Mhm.
as soon as I got that first positive pregnancy test, but I thought I'll go to Planned Parenthood and pee in a cup there to make sure it's not a false positive.
Right. Okay. Hmm.
So I do that, and a very concerned social worker sits down with me and says, "So you are?" And she's clearly bracing for me to have a big emotional experience.
Hmm.
And I say that I'm interested in adoption. And I, even at the time, was thinking like I wanted it to be a queer couple.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Okay, well, this is the adoption agency that we work with," and gives me their brochure. and is like I'm actually feeling really good at this point.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, this is I so this is in my mid 20s,
Uh-huh.
and I'm at the point in my life where life just seems like a big adventure, and like I'm just interested in doing things that seem like they'll be interesting experiences, and
Including this one.
including this one. Like, not that I would have ever sought this out, but I think I just was like, at the time I was like, this is cool. This is gonna be a cool experience.
Wow. I mean, if I had gotten pregnant in my mid 20s, I was so like focused on my career and making it and all that, I would have freaked the fuck out. So it's just so interesting. We all just have such vast different experiences. And for you to see this as an adventure, it's like
Yeah.
I'm mind blown and also, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was an incredibly naive way to imagine what was about to happen,
Mm.
but I that was just kind of how I saw life, was like, even if something's a bad experience, then maybe I'll learn something important from it, and it'll be a good story. Like, I think that there, and maybe other people you've talked to have even said or felt this, but like, there's definitely me before this experience and me after this experience in
Hmm.
like a BCAD way. So
Hmm.
I it was it's not that I hadn't experienced anything hard at that point, but I just had no idea what I was in for the rest of my life, essentially.
Right. It's a huge, huge decision that
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge change you're about to embark on. So what about, so you say you're interested in adoption. You knew you wanted to give to a gay couple.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get to that, did you tell the friend with benefits who got you pregnant?
I
How'd that
did.
go?
Not well.
Oh no, what happened? I'm on the edge of my seat right now. I just like, wait, what happened there?
um, I I don't like to get into his part of it too much. He
Sure.
wasn't really that present for most of this. I will say that today he does have a relationship with our kid, like I do.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, this did not fit into what his life and priorities were at the time.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah. But I, in the vein of seeing this as a cool adventure, I told like everyone. I
Mm.
was very public about what was happening. And an interesting thing that happened is that when I posted about it on Facebook, people came out of the woodwork reaching out to me saying they were interested in adopting my baby.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
People I hadn't talked to in years, friends of friends. It was so many people, and it was
Wow.
really overwhelming.
I can imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine. And so what do you do with that? And like how did you move forward? How did you make the plan that you ended up making? How does it all work out?
I realized pretty quickly, like the first couple people that contacted me, I was like, oh, yeah, maybe we could talk about that. And then the contact kept coming from new people and there kept being more. And I realized I can't do this. I can't go this route. It's too much. And there was one couple that I was friends with. They had produced my first full length play in New York. And we sat down and talked about it or tried to talk about it, but they were so cautious about, they didn't want to step on my toes or be out of turn or too forward. And I thought we were there to talk about what this could mean or look like. And I kept trying to actually have that conversation that I thought we were there to have. And they kept kind of backing away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me feel like it can't be someone I know.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be someone that I already have this existing relationship with, and all the baggage and expectations and dynamics that we already have. I need to be able to start fresh with someone.
Mm-hmm. So that's when you realize, all right, I can't do this with someone I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by this point, I had already reached out to the adoption agency that Planned Parenthood gave me the brochure for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was meeting with a social worker there on a regular basis. So I just continued meeting with her. And when I did start looking, when I did get to a point where it made sense to start considering pre adoptive families, I just did it all through the agency.
Okay. And did you have a support system at this point? I mean, I know you said you told everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a system of folks who were like supporting you through this, or were you alone on an island really getting through
Both,
it?
very much both, because I had this wonderful community and people would go to my doctor's appointments with me, or the day I went to Planned Parenthood, someone came with me. I the first time I went to the adoption agency, someone came with me. And these are all different people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had this very loving, supportive network of friends who was showing up for me. And I didn't know anyone who had a comparable experience.
Mm.
There's one birth mother in my family that I know of, and she placed in the 50s, and it was just a different time
Right. Totally different time. Yeah.
and different way that adoption worked. Like, I've spent enough time now with other birth mothers to know that, like, the emotional core of the experience is largely the same, but the circumstances are so different from what they were like pre Roe v. Wade, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and now.
Mm.
So I felt like I had this amazing support, and the other thing is, I I was also like, I'm not gonna know. I don't know how I'm gonna feel until this kid comes out of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to keep myself open to making whatever the best decision for that kid is, and listening to whatever curveballs the universe and my own heart throw at me.
Right.
So being a single parent was also on the table, even if it wasn't the option I was considering most of the time.
Mm.
Um,
But
ooh,
that's also such a um tough position to be in. Like the two sides of the coin here. You're pretty sure you want to go the adoption route, but then there's also this, hmm, could I do this? Do I want to do this? Would I do this?
yeah.
Heavy.
But the
It's
the
heavy.
thing, yeah, but the thing about that is like, and again, I know I have single mothers in my family, but I didn't know any other single mothers in New York City who were doing theater. I knew divorced mothers in New York City who were doing theater, and
Uh-huh.
like that's still shared custody and another set of hands.
Mm. I remember going to auditions in New York City back in the day when I was auditioning, and there were these two moms who always had their kids with them, young kids, and it looked like hell for them. And I remember thinking, never, oh my God, never, no, because those audition waiting rooms are not a fun place to be,
Yeah,
especially when you have two kids who are being very needy at you. I couldn't even
yeah,
imagine. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So whether I went with adoption or decided to raise my kid, I was going to have to be figuring some things out from scratch.
Hmm.
So both supported and alone, if
Right.
that makes sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense the way you just explained it. And so you start working with this adoption agency.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens from there?
So that process, it starts out with kind of general counseling and them learning more about me, more about what my personal history and life history has been, and they learn more about my medical history. And I'm also I also have a therapist independently of this, and I I'm in this process with this social worker, and I've started this much earlier than birth mothers generally do, is what she tells me.
The adoption process, you mean?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I started seeing this social worker in my first trimester,
Mm-hmm.
and that that is generally way sooner. So we had like kind of a lot of time.
Right.
So sometime in my second trimester, and by this point I've gone from like this will be a fun adventure to a few moments of like, oh my god, this is so scary, and I feel so sad and freaked out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have those crying fits, and it would be cathartic. And then afterwards, I would feel calmer. And then I would continue feeling like this is a cool adventure.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of ups and downs.
A lot of ups and downs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But so I've had a couple of those by this point, but we're at kind of a stable place about it. And so she says, do you want to look at the book? And that's the book, like a binder of pre-adoptive families.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sit down and start looking through the book.
Mm-hmm.
And this agency is, I guess they, even though like the majority of their pre-adoptive families are still straight couples, they have a reputation for being the gay adoption agency.
Right.
Because they do have like a number of gay couples in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I'm not, I'm like, you know, whoever is the best family, if I see a straight couple and they seem like they would be an amazing fit, I'll consider them too. So I'm looking through the book and making a list of families I want to know more about. And my social worker had gone out of the room for a bit, and she comes back in with like a fresh sheet for the book and sets it down and is like hot off the press. And it's this like couple that looks amazing.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Wow.
one's a surgeon and one does theater.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I definitely want to know more about these
And they
guys.
had, oh, how lucky for them. They had just come into the agency, like they had just submitted their,
So we found out later that we must have been in the building at the same time
holy shit.
because they like they dropped off their page for the book. I think they had been meaning to like submit it for a long time, and like finally, had just got to it that day while I was looking at families.
Holy shit. That's a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
see these handsome men
Mm-hmm.
and you say, that's the one. That's them, basically.
I made a list of families I wanted to know more about. And
Hmm.
so they were definitely one of those families.
Gotcha. It's like we always talk about on this show, the search for Superman, and we equate that to the donor search, because we
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm.
real crazy. We get all up in our heads about all kinds of things regarding sperm donors and egg donors. But I've
Yeah.
never thought about it from the perspective of a birth mother looking for the
Yeah.
family to take. That's a whole nother thing too. That's a
Yeah.
search for super family.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like, so on that sheet, that their page in the book, they have their it has their so the front page is a letter to the birth mother, and then there's info about them. It's like their profession, their ethnicity, their religion, their what languages they speak, and how open of an adoption they're interested in.
Hmm.
And this agency also very much encourages open adoption. Like almost every profile, in if not every single profile, there was some level of openness
Hmm.
that they were looking for or open to. um, I think the statistics show that most open adoptions actually close within the first 5 years. So
Oh, wow. Because it gets to be a
because
lot.
I think it is often initiated by the adoptive family.
The cutoff.
Yeah.
Right. Because it gets to be a
Um,
lot for them, I
yeah.
suppose, emotionally.
Yeah.
Mm.
But but at least at this stage, they're saying that they're interested in openness.
And that mattered to you.
It mattered to me a lot.
So, so what made you finally decide on the family you decided on, and what were some of the things that were in these profiles that made you, like, I'm thinking for other families out there who are looking to adopt a child, like what was the thing for you? What were the things?
Yeah. So the next session after that is when I got to learn in a lot of detail about each of these families that
Hmm.
I said I wanted more info about. And one thing every family, at least at this agency, creates to as like material to share with the birth mother is a photo book.
Uh-huh.
And so it shows like where they live, who they are, things they like to do for fun, their extended family and like the other people who might be in this kid's life. And so um I'll say something not to do, which
Okay,
is
yeah, do that, do that.
yeah, because there was another gay couple and they clearly had more money than God, and they had both gone to Harvard, and
Uh-huh.
their photo book was just so boring and clearly so little thought had gone into it.
Oh, they just slapped the pictures in there.
Yeah, like the pictures were all stretched out and pixelated, and it was just like, we enjoy tennis, we try to go to a different country every year. It was
Yeah,
like, no. Like
right. Too vague.
it's, yeah, I'm like, who are you? I have no idea. And you're like, you live in this huge West Village apartment and you both went to Harvard, but like you couldn't like hire a graphic designer to make a
Right,
better photo book for you.
right. Or
So
like get nitty gritty with the arts and crafts, y'all.
right.
I actually
Yeah.
talked to a dad who he and his partner adopted, and he talked in detail about the creation of this photo book and how his
Mhm.
husband thought he was crazy with how crazy he got about it. And he talks about how he would just sit there and watch Ina Garden. She became his best friend, Ina Garden, and he
Mhm.
would just sit and craft the photo album. And it's a hilarious story, but it ended up getting them picked. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that the birth mother said why she chose them. It was the book,
Yep.
which, and now here you are. Look at that. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Put some
So
time,
their
put some thought in.
yeah, so their book, like their sense of humor came across so strongly,
Mm-hmm.
and um like they had put silly speech bubbles on the
Mm-hmm.
pictures, and there was clearly this larger network of community and extended family and chosen family that was gonna love the crap out of my kid.
Yeah.
And there was another family, actually a straight couple, that I very seriously considered. And most of the photo books were like computer generated, but this straight couple, theirs was like handcrafted.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and they they actually had a lot in common with each other. Like they both lived in really diverse neighborhoods, and they both had dogs, like big dogs, and they, both like there were all these things about both of them. But I got a little teary looking at my son's now dad's photo book.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So you fall in love with the book and then you choose them.
Yeah. Something else to mention about like the stage when you're looking at the photo book, you
Mhm.
also hear the details of their home study. Um, and so I got to learn like how much money they made and like what debt they have and any like medical issues they had. And like I got to whoop, sorry, my battery is dying.
Uh-oh. You need to plug in?
Um, yes, but it will change what my sound is doing. Um, how do I sound?
Worse.
Worse. Okay. Um,
If you can't plug headphones in and plug your computer in at the same time, is that the issue?
I'm on my I'm on my iPad. Just
Oh,
give me a second.
uh-huh.
How is this?
I think it's okay.
Okay. Um, Great. I'm charging and fingers crossed that everything
Okay.
stays functional.
All right. Well, we'll go for it. And my hopefully my editor can work wonders with our sound regardless.
Okay.
33 to like 37, we'll say. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So where were we?
Oh yeah, getting to hear in all kinds of detail about um yeah, everything about them, their their finances, their health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um anyway, so I you are like if you land on a family and you meet and it's really not a fit, you can reconsider, but you are kind of making a commitment and there is some level of expectation by
Mm.
deciding to meet with a pre-adoptive family.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we we meet. We meet at the adoption agency with their social worker and my social worker, and it totally is love at first sight for me. Like
Oh, wow.
I meet them and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I think this is the right vibe.
Wow. And and was the feeling mutual? I mean, obviously they're like super excited.
Yeah, I've never asked them their what was going on inside for them at that meeting, but the vibe I got was that it was very much mutual.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you meet them and then you're like, this is it. This is them. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then and you're in your second trimester at this point?
Yeah, I think I met them like right at the end of my second trimester going into my third.
All right. So you have a couple months to go.
Mm-hmm.
And how
Yeah.
what happens from there? Now you know the couple that's gonna take your child. Um,
Yeah.
and then how do things go from there? Because I know that there is the adoptive parents do have, I think it's different across different boards, right? Depending on different agencies and different, I don't know. You tell me. What am I talking about? I don't even know. You tell me.
What they have different whats?
Like, like I've heard from adoptive parents who say, we paid for a lawyer for the birth parent and we paid for all the medical care. Or am I
Ah,
making that up?
okay. So the agency paid for that for me. Not a lawyer, but they did pay my doctor bills.
Oh,
Um, the um, which I think is the right way to go because when it comes directly from the adoptive family, then that's that puts you in an interesting situation where it's like, okay, you are covering these expenses for me, but I'm supposed to be a free agent and like make the decision that's
right.
best for the kid.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
still have a right to change your mind.
right, but when
Right.
you are accepting something financial directly from the adoptive family, that complicates that.
Right.
But receiving it from the agency, it's not that it's not still complicated, but I think it makes things a little clearer.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, we, during that last trimester, I'm meeting with a doula and making a birth plan. And we are emailing about baby names, me and the dads.
Oh,
Yeah,
so they were including you in the decision for what to name the baby.
we did it together. Like,
Wow.
um, I mean, so the birth certificate from the hospital, like, I could have put whatever I wanted on that,
Mm-hmm.
really. Um, and then they can put whatever they want on the new birth certificate with their names on it. But at that first meeting, I had a name I had been thinking of, and I asked them what they thought of it, and they kind of froze. They were like, we didn't know what sex the baby was gonna be. Like, we hadn't even started thinking about names, so why don't we email each other and figure something out? And we start a Google Doc, uh, and we each thought of the name Leo independently of each other.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So once we started talking and thinking about him as Leo, then it's like I had been thinking of this other name. And but now there's this name that we've agreed on. So he's so it's starting to feel already like he's theirs and not mine. Like, it's
Uh-huh.
even as I'm continuing to be like, I'm going to, the other thing that a lot of people don't know about is that um, some agencies, and mine did this, offer what's called cradle care after you give birth. So the baby doesn't go home with the birth parent and doesn't go home with the adoptive parents. There's a volunteer who takes care of the baby so that you're not like still in the hospital, hormones, body busted, making the most important decision of your life and like signing papers right there if you don't want to. Some birth
Right.
mothers do that, and that's the best thing for them.
And so
Um,
so the baby is born and then a volunteer takes the baby like takes care of the baby in the hospital even, or you get through the hospital
no,
stay.
yeah, you get you. I spent my 48 hours in the hospital, and
And was the baby with you or was the baby with them?
the baby was with me.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So I still like, and like my friends came and like were in the room with me when my son was born, and like were visiting me and bringing me cards and bringing me flowers and bringing me food and like the things that you do with someone who's like just given birth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was all the same. um and like we're all holding my baby and like, oh my god, he's gorgeous, and like taking
Wow.
pictures.
I'm sorry, I have to pause you one
Okay.
second because my dog is just came home from a walk and
Okay.
is being crazy. I have to get something for
Yeah.
the dog. Sorry.
Okay. I'm good.
Kira, Kira. That's not yours. That's not yours. Come on. Chair. Oh, yeah. That's the wrong one. Okay, sorry about that.
All good.
She might get wild again. We'll see. Okay,
Okay.
so baby's in the hospital with you, friends are coming. Were the adoptive parents at the birth?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This is different than other stories I've heard. Um,
Yeah. I just like, if I was going to really be open to whatever the right decision was going to be, I didn't want to feel a sense of pressure based on like ways they were already involved, or like them already having like met and held and gotten attached to the baby or whatever.
Right.
um so they were not there. And um and so those 48 hours in the hospital were amazing. Like the day my son was born was like truly one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And I was like, I mean, all the cliches, like the minute you meet your child you fall in love, like absolutely.
Oh
Like,
my God. And so then how'd you make your decision? How'd you do it?
well, when my son left the hospital without me, um I collapsed.
Oh,
Like it went from this like joyful celebration and like cooing over this cute amazing baby to like feeling like I couldn't stand up. Like I could I it was like the muscles in my stomach stopped working to like hold me up anymore. um and just like crying harder than I've ever cried in my life.
wow.
And like even then I still thought I was going to go through with it, but I was like, well, thank God I gave myself the time to like give this humongous decision the space it deserves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I go home and I'm just like broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and like and my friends come over and they bring me food and like they crash at my place so I don't have to like sleep alone unless I want to. And um it's like it's that thing again of I'm very supported and I'm very alone at the same time,
Right.
because none of them can imagine what I'm going through.
No. Right. Yeah. And it's deep and layered.
Yeah.
And so now the volunteer is taking care of the baby while you
Yeah.
have your time to kind of sit with it and decide what you're going to do. And
Yes.
the hopeful adoptive parents are just kind of in limbo,
Yes.
waiting to see what happens. Oh my God, what a hard place for so many people. Oh, fuck. Like, oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Except Leo. Like Leo is well taken care of. Like
Right.
I met this volunteer and like she was just so she was so loving and lovely and like clearly knew very well what she was doing. Like
Hmm.
she's done this with a lot of babies and like
That's a
yeah.
cool job. That's a cool,
Yeah.
like, volunteer. But then you fall in love with the babies too. So maybe I don't know. Like, oh my God, so many. Oh God,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah. I'm
making me.
fascinated by the person who's like, I'm gonna just chill with newborns all the time.
They are really fucking awesome to be around, especially the ones that are like quiet.
Yeah.
You know, but even the
Uh-huh.
loud ones, I had one of those. You still look back on those days fondly. Actually, I don't know. I'm gonna have to rethink that. I'm gonna give that some more thought for later. That was a tough time. But okay, so what happens? How do you make the decision you made, and then where are we now? I have so many questions. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so so during basically I had a month. I didn't have to take the whole month, but I had a month.
Okay.
And so during that month, I could see Leo at the adoption agency once a week.
Okay.
And so, like, the first time I see him, it's just 3 days after leaving the hospital, and
Hmm.
I'm absolutely wrecked.
Hmm.
And like, I got a flu shot in the hospital, and like, I'm having flu symptoms, and like, I'm like, I don't know what my body's doing on so many levels,
Right.
and I'm
Right.
so sad and broken, and like, and so I show up, like, I can't you can't ask me like, how are you doing, without me just like dissolving into tears, like,
Sure.
um but like, I see him and I hold him, and I'm just like, all the like grief and like sadness and everything, like when I'm holding him, when I'm with him, like that's like not even there. I'm just like so happy to be with him.
Hmm.
um and so like by the end of the visit, like by the time I leave, I'm actually like, okay, I'm okay, just
Okay
from
with
seeing him, like feeling okay. I didn't know what I was going to do, but just like, I feel okay now that I've seen him.
right. Okay.
And then the next visit a week later, like by this point I've been doing a lot of crying, and I've been talking it through with my friends and my therapist, and like, I I've been looking at the different options in a lot of detail. And so
Hmm.
I've considered, like, if I do parent, and like, again, I am in so much debt, I'm having my wages garnished, but I'm like, there is an aunt in Westchester I could stay with for a while I like save up money for my own place. And like there are these steps I could take. It would require on like a number of best case scenarios working out, but
Right.
it's conceivable. It's not impossible.
Uh-huh. And at any point, you can just say, I'm gonna come get him right now, and he's mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And but they're still able, they're having visits with him too,
No,
correct? Oh,
no,
they haven't met him.
they have not met him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, this is,
yeah,
I've never heard an adoption story like this, which I'm sure I haven't heard a lot of different adoption stories, but this is
yeah,
new to me. Okay.
yeah,
So you're really heavily weighing the options,
yeah.
and
And
it can work.
where I keep landing is like, the thing that I feel like I have to offer my son as a parent is my love. Like, but there's a level of stability I can't give him.
Mm,
And it's like, it's this open adoption. He is still going to get my love no matter what.
mm,
And like, the fee that a pre-adoptive family had to pay the agency at the time was what I made in a year before wage garnishments.
right.
Like, they if you have the money to pay an adoption agency, you're just in a very different financial situation than I
Yes,
was.
100%.
And I'm like, I even with having health insurance, because I had health insurance at the time, but I was like, when there's an unexpected medical issue and there's an unexpected like doctor's copay that I have to budget for, like, that throws off my finances. Like, that is sometimes that means that I have to like be late paying a utility or something. Even with health insurance, I was like, I do not want to put a kid in that position.
Right. Right.
So
Oh
um
God.
I just I just kept landing at like the stability and the resources that I wanted for my child.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And like I just couldn't do the math in a way where I truly believed his life would be better if I raised him.
Mm.
So I had been doing all that, like soul searching and thinking. And so then at the second visit, I found myself starting to sing Mariah Carey's Always Be My Baby to him.
Oh,
And it's like that's a song about letting someone go.
yeah.
And
Oh God, I'm gonna cry. I'm singing it in my
yeah,
head now. Come on.
yeah, yeah. I know, I know.
Come on,
Because
Jack.
I I'm not even thinking about it when I start singing. It's just
Mm.
like it's a song that has the word baby in it. I start singing it, and then as I keep singing it, I'm like, oh wait, shit.
Oh my God. Nobody's gonna hear that song the same who listens to this episode now.
I
You'll
know.
always
It's
be a part of me.
I'm part of you indefinitely. And my name at the time was Mariah. Just saying.
What? Oh my
Yep.
God. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. All right.
Yeah.
Synchronicities all over the place here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and what I didn't mention before is that my doula was also a birth mother. Like she's the first birth mother my age and who has experience with an open adoption
Hmm.
that I've ever met.
Right.
Um, and so I like after that visit where I'm singing Mariah Carey to my child, I'm like, oh, I think I'm realizing that like I'm ready to let this go and that I like there's actually nothing to decide. I've kind of already decided. And so I like reach out to her and I'm like, I think I'm ready to let him go. And she's like, yeah, I remember that feeling.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep. I mean, it's just like I feel like I just need to take a lot of exhales right now.
Yeah.
Shit. And I'm so happy for the dads. And I'm like, God, the precarious place they were in through this time. And so when you make that decision, then did things move forward rather quickly or
So I gave myself a few days to think about it and just make sure I was sure. And um then I forget exactly what order things happened in. I do remember that at some point in this process, their profile had said they were open to like a certain number of visits a year, which was already more than most other families listed in their profiles. But I was like, I would love for it to be even more than that. So there was a point, I forget if it was before or after this, where I asked my social worker to talk to their social worker and see if they would be open to like more visits than they had previously listed.
Mhm.
Um, and so I had to different people's schedules. Like Carmela was the woman taking care of Leo. Carmela's and the dad's and like the social workers, we just had to make sure everyone's schedules lined up
Mm-hmm.
to so that we could all like come in and transfer this baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day before we did that, I came in and signed all the papers. Um, and like the language is like really, really severe. Like there's no question that you are signing away all your parental rights.
Mm-hmm.
And um and then the next day I had like my final one-on-one visit with Leo. And then the dads were in another room at the agency. And so I walked in holding him and like
Mm-hmm.
handed him to them.
Oh God. Oh God. I'm like
Yeah.
crying. I'm just like, if this were a movie, I'd be sobbing right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, God, it was, I mean, emotional roller coaster doesn't even begin to cover it, because like a roller coaster is a thing that goes up and down, but like at many points in this, I'm up and down at the same time.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm devastated and actually fine, or like even really happy, like at the same time.
Mm.
I'm like broken and okay. Like, I'm basically, I have to, from this point on, like restart as a human, like reset, like rebuild myself on a cellular level. Because this has like kind of disintegrated the old me.
It's rocked you to your core.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. It's
But
taking
like,
you down to your studs.
yeah.
Like,
But
how many
also
metaphors can
feeling
we
a
come like
yeah.
think of another one?
But also feeling a sense of peace and just like knowing that this is the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
like, and also feeling like I know that the dads are gonna love this kid, but I also feel like we are going to love each other as family, and that we are family. And like I've gained I've gained family through this. Like the there's no there's no loss like this in anything in the there's no loss like this in the world. But I I also feel like the the loving potential of this new relationship with them.
Mm.
And also I've been disintegrated as a human. So lot of contradiction.
A lot. But so, all right, so it's 10 years later. And
Yeah.
where are y'all now? What's going, how is it?
So their move from New York to LA is part of what prompted my move from New York to LA.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so my kid is doing great. He's in circus school and he can do incredible things on like aerial silks and stuff
That's
and
awesome.
tumbling and
I was in circus school. I was
oh,
hardcore.
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm not a daredevil, so I got too scared, so I had to stop because I couldn't do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I took gymnastics as a kid, and I there was like a limit to what I could do because I would like hesitate at the last minute
Yeah,
and like then I couldn't do it.
right.
Yeah.
So he's awesome. He's doing great. And how's the relationship?
It's an ongoing, like, it's this, because as the kid changes and as the world changes, then there's new challenges to figure out.
Mm.
So like um when my kid got COVID, uh like a year ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, when my kid got COVID a year ago, like, and I find out from him texting me. So like a a very sick 9-year old is like
Mm.
telling me what's happening, and I'm like, I the information is so unclear, and I'm like, this should have come from an adult, and I'm like
Right.
freaking out because like my kid is sick and I can't do anything and I don't know what's going on, and like also his papa is also has COVID, so
Mm.
everyone's like, it's I like moments like that, or moments like finding out that they're moving to LA, like our our relationship is very like communicative, and like I feel I feel really like there's ways in which I get to connect both with my kid and his dad's, and like have hard conversations and like be heard, and like have my um like my boundaries respected, and like there's so much that is so like rich and like works in this relationship, but the basic structure of the relationship is that I'm powerless.
Mm.
And so the relationship can be great, and that's still they're still I still signed my parental rights away,
Right.
and they still make the decision about what happens in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have input on those decisions sometimes, but like mostly I don't. And
Mm.
I so I have these moments where it's like my kid has COVID and there's nothing I can do. My kid is moving across the country and there's nothing I can do.
Right.
Um,
And you still think of him as your kid.
yeah, he is my kid. He's not my kid in the same way that he's their kid, but like
Right.
he is still my kid. And
It's complicated.
it's complicated.
It's complicated. And I think it's really, I'm so glad to hear your perspective on it. And because, a lot of times you'll talk to adoptive parents and it's really easy. And I think it's kind of also a coping mechanism for all of us to just kind of assume that the birth mother has gone on with their life and has moved on and is completely at peace and um, has moved on from the situation. But it's not always that. It's not clean cut like that. And even when birth mothers give their children up, and it's like in the old days, I'm going to say like the closed adoptions when the birth, that doesn't mean that that birth mother was ever okay with not
Yeah,
being with their child.
I've met exactly one birth mother who like claimed that she was ever like okay from the experience. I've not
Right.
met a single other birth mother who was just like, yep, that happened, and like I'm at peace, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's a wound, it's a loss, and it's forever. And
Right.
you can even the ones um who relinquished and then are reunited, or like even in the case of open adoption, like now having met more birth mothers it like who also have open adoptions, like it's hard for all of us. It's like the I still I'm glad it's becoming more of an industry standard because it does have the best mental health outcomes for both the adoptee and the birth parent. But
Hmm.
like that doesn't mean that it's easy or that it's not still this lifelong loss.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, there's like I think a lot of stories about adoption and like popular ways that we culturally conceive of adoption is based on this idea that like the birth mother either doesn't exist or like is only exists at the moments when
Right.
it's like easy to think about,
Hmm.
but like that that loss and that grief is really erased from the picture because like the people who fund adoption are adoptive parents, and so even
Yeah.
if individual workers within the industry like have great values, at the end of the day it's still set up for the people who are funding it.
Mm. Hmm. And both truths and both, it all coexists together.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing goes away. There's
yeah,
it's this and it's also this.
exactly.
Um, God, yeah. But it's also such a beautiful thing that you did for this family, for these men who wanted a baby and they got a baby. And I'm
Yes,
sure
and
there's,
yes,
yes,
and
and
I
exactly.
I I have to be honest with you, I hate hearing that.
Okay,
Like
okay.
I
Tell me. Yeah.
I didn't do it for them.
Ah,
I
yes.
did it
Okay.
for Leo.
Yes.
And like I was broke.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not something I did to like be nice or like as a gift to them.
Mm.
And like when people refer to it as like you gave them such a gift, I'm like
That's not.
he's a human. He's a child. Like I didn't I didn't that's not the lens in which I did it, and like it's just to frame it as like a nice thing that a birth mother does for an adoptive family is dehumanizing both for the adoptee and the birth parent.
Yeah. I see that. I see that.
And
Yeah.
it's like because people who like have who are so in favor of like my story and who are coming from a place of wanting to like show support for me, um there's just all this like these cultural narratives of adoption we've
Hmm.
all been swimming in, like it's that just kind of becomes the default, and when you're inside of it and when you're the person who has experienced the loss that made that whole series of events possible, it it feels different. It feels really different to hear those things.
Right. I hear that. I really hear that. And I mean, like you're like in the eye of the hurricane. And I am so grateful to hear your story, honestly, and to just, you've given me a lot to think about. I think you've given a lot of our listeners a lot to think about, especially, our families, we come about in many ways. One of them is through adoption. And we have to be mindful of all the pieces
Yeah.
that make adoptions possible. And this
Yeah.
is one very important key piece and a perspective to think about for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and it's the kind of thing that like you don't know until you know. Like
Mm.
I had a lot of these like I had a lot of these same ideas about like what it meant to do this until
Hmm.
I was the one doing it. And then I find out, oh, like, it's not just a cool adventure. Like,
It's not, yeah. Hindsight's a bitch, huh? Yeah, it's not just a cool adventure we're about to embark on. This has lifelong implications.
yeah.
Mm.
And it's also the queerness is interesting because like, you know, part of why I wanted to do it this way is because I'm queer. And as my like gender expression and my name has changed and pronouns have changed, then navigating like, okay, I'm presenting in a different way and I'm asking my kid and his dads to address me a different way and see me a different way. And that feels really fraught because it's like I don't want to take away my kids quote mom.
Mm. Hmm. Oh shit. So many fucking layers, Jack. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of layers.
So many layers. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's an ongoing relationships. They are ongoing relationships and ongoing conversations around
Yeah.
how we define and communicate our relationship.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like we have to have a whole nother conversation on going going from mom to Jack or whatever. I don't know what he calls
Yeah.
you, but
Yeah.
like,
He gave me a Mother's Day card addressed to Jack slash mom.
oh, oh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did he call you mom before?
Yeah.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a
I want to
lot.
listen, you have to I mean, it's not all your business to tell. Like, I know that there are three other people involved in this story.
Yeah.
So, like, send us updates, send us pictures of Leo. Like, okay, Jamie, chill. But I listen, I wish you all the best. And if you ever have any updates that you want to share and are shareable, I'm invested. We're all invested now
Yeah.
in your
I
well-being.
do post he looks we look the same. Like we look exactly the same. And sometimes I do post pictures on my Instagram.
Well, I mean, we're gonna stay in touch, you and I. So,
Yes.
keep me informed. And I wish you like I'm sending all the good well-being in the world your way, always.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And thank you for telling this story. It's a new one.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop all the recordings. We went all the way to 4. Look at us.
Oh yeah, sure did.
We sure did. So